Hello, world. We're here in Tokyo. Hello, world. Well, okay, we can hear ourselves. We got us gone now.
Never heard us.
Okay, hello, everyone. Welcome to Tokyo. Jonathan Gold, Weldon Johnson here. Day one of the. Welcome to Tokyo.
Let's start again. Okay.
All right, take three. Hello, everyone. Jonathan Gold, Weldon Johnson here. Day one of the 2025 World Championships in Tokyo in the books. Beatrice Chebet adds the 10,000 meter world title to her 10,000 meter world record and her 10,000 meter Olympic title, and is setting up for a showdown against Faith Kipyegon, who did her thing in the first round of the women's 1500. Ryan Crouser, 5 for 5. He started off by winning the Olympic title in Tokyo in 2021. He has won every global final since then, 5 in 5 years. And this was his first competition of the year. Still had an elbow injury throwing tonight. He wasn't at his normal Ryan Crouser best, but he was still the best in the world, 22.34 meters for the win and the gold medal there. We had some drama in the men's steeplechase, a number of notable falls. Lamet Chagoma, the world record holder in Ethiopia, in just his second race of the season, he fell, but he made it through. Geordie Beamish, racing for the first time in 3 months, he fell, he made it through. Crazy last lap for Beamish. And Kenneth Rooks, the Olympic silver medalist, the three-time defending U.S. champion, he didn't fall, but he got dropped badly, was well off the pace, and he will not be in the final after getting the silver medal in Paris last year. The only American who will be in the final, Let's Run.com Supporters Club member Dan Michalski. The repping Team USA, he finished third behind the world champion and world record holder in his steeple heat. All three American women made it through to the 1500 semis. Nikki Hiltz, Emily Mackay, Sinclair Johnson, and Sha'Carri Richardson showed signs of life. Weldon, she got a season's best. She still hasn't broken 11 seconds in the 100, but she looked better at the end of the race, I would say, than any race she has so far. So, yeah, we had Jefferson Wooden, Alfred making it through as well, obviously. And then in the men's 100, Gift Leila of South Africa, 987 personal best. He was your fastest qualifier. Is he a medal threat now? I mean, you run 97. He looked fantastic. So, plenty to talk about. Well, what do you want to begin with?
Cheers, John.
Okay. Cheers.
Welcome to Tokyo. First of all, guys, let us know about the sound. Rojo, light and sound man, will be coming tomorrow or the next day. I'm not sure when he gets here. But first of all, just a great day to start in terms of packed house in Tokyo. Such a contrast from the Olympics. Like, literally no one was in attendance there except for you guys. It was just media and athletes, right? I mean, that was it. Mm-hmm. I'm walking in the stadium. I happened to walk by the ticket office, and there's just a sign up saying no tickets, sold out. I was like, all right, really? Walk in, it's packed. And I was going to start with the steeplechase, but I think we got to start with Beatrice Chebet.
Yeah, I mean, this was the first track final of the championships, and the crowd was incredible that last lap. Well, I mean, they were really, really loud, and they were almost as loud for the top Japanese finisher as they were for the battle for gold. But it was a great atmosphere. It really did strike me how much better it was than when we were here for the Olympics in 2021. But that's good. This is what you want. You want a big-time crowd. It felt like a real World Championships. It felt big time. So great job, Tokyo, on night one. They call it a sellout. I did see some patches of empty seats, but there were plenty of fans there. So that was good. And the women's 10,000. I guess if there was a surprise in this race, maybe you would say it was Battleclady getting silver, but she got the silver at the Olympics. How big of a surprise was that, really? I mean, she outkicked Gudov Sagai, the 2023 world champion. Really, it came down to the last 200, essentially. As soon as Beatrice Chebet took the lead, that was when you know, like, okay, this thing is really getting serious. Sagai had made that move to string out the pack to reduce it to 4 women, the eventual medalists plus Agnes and Gedich, with a K to go. But you could tell Chebet's just sitting there. She's waiting. And then, 200 to go. That has become her favored spot to make moves. She didn't close quite as fast as she did in Xiamen earlier this season, 26.6. But the 27.1 in your final 200, you're not a woman, no woman who closes that fast is going to lose many races. Battleclady, to her credit, 27.7. She gave it a good run, but Chebet is operating at a level that few women in history have ever done. So, I feel like it's just, she's the world record holder and she can also close in 27.1. How do you beat this woman? Not in the 10,000, I think maybe Kipyegon has a chance at the 5, but it's just, she's incredible.
Yeah. I've got her name 3 times wrong tonight.
Nadia Battleclady.
Battleclady. She's got an amazing close. And Robert sort of pointed this out beforehand. He's like, look, she was only 0.1 behind her at the Olympics. Maybe she can be a factor. And we can get a little more details in the race in a second, but essentially started out really slow, 5 minutes a mile, first mile, 4:57 second mile. Then they push the third mile. And then we'll have to look at the splits. But then essentially the heat, it is so humid here. John's pulling them up. But they start slowing down and they start running over 5 minutes again. And then they're just essentially preparing for this final kick. And
because if you look here, they dropped a 67 in here right before 5K. It went 70, 70, 67, 70. And then they slowed down a little bit, 73, 72, 72. And then 60, once they hit 4 miles to... as soon as they hit 4 miles, they kind of just backed it off. And actually, these splits...
Yeah, they ran.
Says she's in 10th place. Beatrice Chebet was never in 10th place, but they did start backing off. They were running like 77, 78s, and even a few 80s in there until really 1K to go, which is where Tsegay made her move.
Yeah, they ran a 5:16 fifth mile, which is crazy slow for these women. But honestly, I think Chebet, there was some team tactics, right?
Yeah, she admitted her and Nagedich were trying to break things up, and I think just it didn't break up as much as they wanted, maybe. So, I mean, it was smart for Chebet. She can win basically any kind of race, but I think it makes sense for her to maybe help thin out the pack a little bit. And yeah, the one thing, a few commenters are pointing this out. In our preview podcast, Robert suggested that Tsegay should not have tried to go early. She should have just tried to sit and see if you outkick. I think he was talking about Kipyegon actually in the 5K. Like if you Kipyegon, you just sit on each other. But I think that's a strategy. Like Tsegay, is she really going to drop Beatrice Chebet with a K to go? Like, do you just wait until 200 and take your chances? But if you do that, like, okay, Chebet just closed in 27.1. So is Tsegay really going to close in like 27.0, 26.9? To me, she's not. I know she's a 350, 1500 meter woman, but she doesn't shift gears as well as Chebet. So I can't entirely fault her for going with 1K to go, but really, she's in the problem that we've had, when people were going up against Mo Farah in his prime. Like, Chebet's just better at running than Gudov Tsegay. That's what it comes down to. I don't think there's really much of a game plan for, like, how do you beat this woman when she's better than you at every aspect of running, pretty much.
Right. I'll give Tsegay credit until this last 1,000 meters. You can debate if that's the right strategy. You didn't notice her. She did nothing. And she is known for essentially in the 1,500 meters going out like sub 60. And this is crazy. She's a 10,000 meter runner, or she's former world record holder
in the 5K. She was
in 5K. Yeah. So like her range is amazing, but her questionable race tactics are probably most known in the 1,500. But just last year she tries to triple, ends in disaster, and she just is super patient. And clearly her plan was like, okay, if you're up there, push at the end. She pushed the last 1,000, and she gets the bronze. People are saying it cost her the silver. I don't know. Like, Battleclady's got a really good kick. Like we saw that last year.
Right.
Maybe.
I'm not confident that Tsegay's closing in 27.5.
Yeah.
We look at some of these diamond leagues, like, okay, the world record race, the pace was a bit hotter, obviously, but like, yeah, Battleclady's a really good kicker, and she tried to shake Battleclady and couldn't do it. So I'm not sure it did cost her the silver.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. But I was sort of wondering, okay, I'm like, well, it's going to come down just a kick. They run this 5:16 mile. I'm like, could Chebet be in trouble? Like, what do we say in almost any race? You let it come down to 400 meters, like anybody can win. I mean, it's more so we're talking about the 1500s, but Yeah, go run like a men's 13:45 5K, see what happens. It's just a completely different race. And Cathal Dennehy, the Irish journalist, was sitting next to us, and he just said 26:200. And I was like, what? He goes, she closed in 26 in that 5K in China. She's not going to lose even if it's slow. And that's what happened. Like, her finishing speed is pretty much unbeatable right now. Assuming Kipyegon takes care of business in the 1500, it'll be very interesting to see what happens.
Oh, it's going to be amazing. Then they're split 1-1. We've seen him race the Worlds in 2023. Kipyegon outkicked Chebet in the 5K. Last year in Paris in the 5K, Chebet outkicked Kipyegon. So this is the rubber match. It's two all-time legends. I mean, Chebet is steadily growing her legend, but she's 25 years old, and I think she's still going to own the distance. You know, she's already the world record holder in the 5 and the 10. She's the Olympic champ in the 5 and the 10. If she can cap off this 2-year run with double gold, including over Kipyegon, I mean, that's really one of the best 2-year periods. And this would be one of the best single years ever that a distance runner has had. If you can break the 5K world record and win 2 gold medals in the same year for Chebet. I mean, it's last year she had the 10K world record and world cross and 2 gold medals. So maybe it's not as good as that 2024, but I think she's fitter than she was in 2024.
Yeah. And if you're just joining us, this is the Let'sRun.com Track Talk podcast. We're seeing this. You're seeing the YouTube show, but Worlds are at crazy hours. It is midnight right now in Tokyo.
And if you're hearing the cheers outside, Karu Matoma has scored for Brighton and Hove Albion against Bournemouth. So, yeah, just really exciting times all around Tokyo right now.
All right. If you want this as a podcast, don't want to have to tune in every night. Go to Let'sRun.com/subscribe. You'll get daily podcast from Worlds. You can't beat it.
Quick note on the Americans. Well, then I don't know if there's really that much to say. There's just a gap in women's distance running right now between the very best in the world and the U.S. women. And I feel like I've talked to Elise Craney and we've had the same conversation in like 5 Worlds or Olympics in a row, just saying like, how do you close that gap? She was 13th. She was the top American. I believe she was 13th, top American tonight. Emily Infeld 15th. They were never really in it, and that's just a reality of where they're at and where the event is at. And Cranny was 12th, Infeld was 14th. My apologies. And then Taylor Rowe in her first World Championships was 18th. And you asked Infeld, who medaled at these championships 10 years ago, how did you get a medal? And now the gap has widened so much. And I think she kind of just pointed the top women. I think she just thinks they're a little bit better, and I think they are. I mean, you look some of the times they're running. Back then, the world record was 29:31, and everyone thought it was impossible. And now it's 28:54, and we think Chebet can go even faster. So I think that's part of it. And I like Elise Craney. I think this is about her limit. In the she's finished like 8th or 9th in some of those 5Ks, but I just think the gap to the top 5 is so enormous, and I don't know really if there's. I don't know. Maybe it sounds fatalistic. I just don't know if there's a way to bridge it. I think she's like kind of. We've seen what her level's at.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the sport has changed a lot in 10 years. 10 years ago, Emily Infeld got a medal in this event, which is crazy. But also back then, the American women were way better than the men. We had Shalane Flanagan who got a medal. Kara Goucher got a medal. And
I would say they're way better. I mean, Galen Rupp got a medal. Legat got some medals. I mean, but the U.S. women were more successful than they are.
And yes, change is sort of gradual, and then just the top end of the women's sport has just reached a new level. And look, I think Infeld, she kind of looks up to Craney or respects her or roots for her, and she's like, look, obviously I still want a medal and stuff, but I think there's some realism for her. She's like, I'm not 22 anymore. Like, I think she was just talking like when she got that medal, just everything clicked that day. And Craney, there's more frustration with her than I kind of thought. I just view it as like fait accompli. They're not going to medal. And she's like, I think she's made 5 straight teams, she said. And it's just such a big gap. The other thing Infill said was like the heat. She's like, immediately, I just was saying how hot it was or humid.
Even Chebet was saying it was hot. It's the same for everyone, but it was not great conditions. It was hot, humid. It's even walking around at midnight right now. It's still humid out there. They're going to be running a marathon in this 7 hours from now. That's not going to be fun. And 10K tomorrow, I think, is supposed to be even hotter. So keep that in mind. Grant Fisher, Aragawi, they were 5th and 4th at the 2021 Olympics, and it was really hot. Barriga won that race in Tokyo, and it was super hot. So maybe that's a help. We know those guys have at least run in some of these championships in the heat before and run pretty well. Shall we shift to the steeplechase? Well, then, with the prelims there. These were some wild steeplechase prelims. I do like there's no time qualifiers. It's just top 5 in each heat. And a bunch of stuff happened. Normally I feel like steeple prelims are some of the more less interesting ones because the depth isn't always there. But this year, this event on the men's side has been wide open. We had questions, what was Goma going to look like? Because he's only raced once all year. The real drama, I would say, was in heats 2 and 3. And the second heat, that was the one with Kenneth Rooks, and just got dropped. I mean, he ran 8:45, and it's not because he fell. It's because he got dropped. And afterwards, he said he was dealing with some congestion. He could definitely feel it on the start line. And he did say he had some SI joint pain earlier this year, but he thought his workouts were going as good or better than they had ahead of the Olympics last year. And so it seemed like he wanted to say that he had a theory, some overarching issue about why he wasn't able to put it together because, remember his Monaco race wasn't good this year. He ran really well at USA's, but that's about it in terms of like top performances. So I don't know what that is. He wanted to say, I don't want to say anything right now because it's the heat of the moment. I want to make sure I analyze it before I say anything. But he seemed to have a theory about why his season and his results hadn't matched up to the training he'd put in.
Yeah, but he said, this doesn't match my fitness. And indicating, this cold or congestion was coming on. So, look, last year was like magic in a bottle for him. The expectations were so low. He walks away. I mean, people were wondering if he could have won the Olympic gold. Walks away with an Olympic silver. He'll always have that. I think he can get back to being competitive in these finals. This year, I think there were sort of signs. Like he goes to NACAX, gets beat by Dan Michalski. Sure, he's rabbiting the first half of that race. But I sort of was wondering coming in. There's some question marks before USA. So he had that one really bad race in the Diamond League in Europe. So it's just we haven't seen the expectations are one higher for us with him, and then I feel like you haven't seen quite the consistency that you saw. So, but the race today was so poor, John. Like we were after the first hit, we went down to the mix zone, so we're watching the race on the screen and kind of look around. I look up and I'm like, did he fall? Like he was that far back, 2K in. You're just like, what happened?
No, he ran 8:45. It's slower than the women's world record. The women's barriers are lower, but it's not a good time.
Wow, I hadn't thought of it like that. And so, in this heat, this was the most entertaining heat by far. At the bell, there's a bunch of guys in contention. Geordie Beamish of New Zealand and the OAC running his first race since June, nearly exactly 3 months. He just he's known for, coming this kick way off the pace. He doesn't want to wait. He kind of moves up essentially to second, trying to almost take the lead right after the bell. And he just looks like to me, nobody hit him. He just hit the hurdle coming over it.
Yeah.
Falls down. I have never seen somebody bounce up that quick. It's just like he sprung off. He tumbled perfectly the right way. He's kind of a spry dude and just popped up and then was kicking. He did lose some ground. It's not like you don't lose any ground, but he just kicked on, got second in the heat and did this. I think he's dusting himself off.
John. And somehow during that whole process, there's an amazing shot of him with someone stepping on his face. So I can already imagine this image in my head of, he does something in the final and there are going to be all these memes saying how it started, how it finished. Because I came away from that race, I was like, he looked so, first of all, to fall at the bell and then to advance to the final with ease. that just shows you how in control he was and how comfortable. Obviously, the fall is an issue. It was also funny because he was saying he knows that he leaves himself with a lot of work to do in these races. He's always kicking from too far back. He's like, yeah, I thought I was actually in pretty good position for once, and then look what happens. I fall. So, he was like, just come on, man. But he hadn't raced for 3 months. So I was like, what happened? He said, well, I got a stress reaction. He did two steeples in 3 days, which I think was the intention there was to mimic Worlds, because if you look at the schedule, there's 2 races in 3 days here. The finals on Monday. There's only 1 day off. So that might have been the aim, but Beamish is a pretty fragile guy. So after that race, he gets a stress reaction. He misses like around a month of training, I think. A month of running, then comes back. But he said things have been going well training. He felt pretty good about how he'd been doing it recently. It's very different from Paris last year. He went into the Olympics. He was just trying to gut things out because he was clearly hurt and, couldn't quite get there. Whereas this year, he hasn't had a full season that he wanted to, but he's on the upswing and he felt really confident about that. And I look at that race and this is a guy who was 5th 2 years ago. We know he can close. We saw it at World Indoors last year. He beat the freaking Olympic champion in the 1500 meters to win the title. So if he's there with the lap to go, I know El Bakkali, his kick is in previous years has been unbeatable. He's the king right now. He's won 4 straight, but if this race goes slow in the final and Beamish is anywhere near the lead, look out, the guy could win the whole thing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we haven't seen the exact same kick in the steeple we haven't seen in the 15, but I would say El Bakkali may not know about him, but they have to know that he's a world indoor champion in 1500 meters. Like, his kick is sick. So you do not want it to be a super slow race. Even if they push like a K out or something like that, I think that's probably enough for the fitness to get rid of him. But he looked amazing. And I think one thing we're seeing, I got to mention Parker Valby since she's not here, but athletes are staying so fit with cross training. Jakob hasn't raced all year. He's going to debut tomorrow at 9 a.m., which is 8.5 hours from now. But hey, no worries. I haven't slept. Went straight from the airport to here. But hey, guys, I'm at the World Championships. But I was like, Beamish, what did you do for cross training? And he's like, he used it as time to get acclimatized to the heat. He's like, I was training, like, did he say like in the sauna?
I don't think he was training in the sauna.
Was doing sauna,
hot
tub, but biking like in really humid environments, that sort of stuff. And that's smart. And so that was 3 months ago. 2 months ago, he first started running on the ground. And he said, look, if anything, I'm undercooked. But last year I was so overcooked going into Paris. He was hurt, frustrated. It just shows like so much of the sport is managing injuries, riding that line. But
especially with that guy, his whole career.
We shouldn't obviously like get too far ahead of ourselves. But if this is what this guy can do in like 3 months of training, like there's no need for him to be pushing this hard. Like, how about he just goes a full 2 years at 85%, doesn't get hurt? Where does that put him? But that's easier said than done because so much of the sport is like, he wants to push, managing it, the mental side, that sort of stuff.
Well, I think when he first joined OAC, they did sort of stop it. Like at NAU, certainly, he was on like low volume stuff compared to his training mates, I think, and trying to keep him healthy. He still got hurt all the time. Then he turns pro, and he's actually able to start logging bigger mileage and get stronger. But I think it's just something that they're going to have to manage throughout his career. He's a huge talent, but the drawback is he does have a tendency to get hurt. But he looks healthy now. He looks as good as ever in the steeple. So that'll be exciting. The other note from the steeplechase Heat 3, that one had Germa, it had El Bakkali, and it had LRC hero Dan Michalski, who led quite a lot of it and looked very in control. He led until the final water jump, and then El Bakkali came by him. Germa came by him, but I thought Michalski looked pretty great, honestly. And those other two are obviously going to be tough to beat. But I'll just say this about Dan Michalski. This is a guy who used to train in the evenings and the heat and humidity of East Texas when he was unsponsored and coaching D2 college team. He won NACACs and ran a PB in that meet, 8:14. And I think that's quite instructive because that was also super hot and humid conditions. So this is a guy, I think the conditions he'll be all right in. We saw at USA's, he's got a pretty good close. I'm not saying he's going to medal. I'm just saying he's in the final. And if you're Dan Michalski, you're rooting for a slow race. If it's like 8:05 or 8:03 or something, well, I guess I'm looking at his training partner, Rooks, took everyone by surprise and ran 8:06. But I feel like you just want a scenario where more chaos can happen, more unlikely things can happen, and that's going to be a kicker's race with everyone bunched up.
I mean, I think he prefers slow race, but also I think he thinks his fitness is at another level.
Yeah,
this year. I think he'll any race he'll take. Because we said, were you able to appreciate it? He said, yes, I was. I tried to appreciate it. What did you think when you saw that you were in El Bakali's and Gurmat's heat? And he's like, I was pumped. I was psyched. He's like, I'm a huge fan of the sport. I'm like, wow. And then he said this. He's like, I got to look at him. I think he meant El Bakali before the final. So he's like thinking ahead to the final. Like, I want a shot at this guy. Like, this is what you dream of, right? Like, you're there. Take a swing.
Nothing is guaranteed. He's 30 years old. This is his first team. We don't know if he'll ever make another one. The next Worlds are in 2027. He might, but this might be his only shot in a World Final. You never know, and you want to give yourself every opportunity. So he's in the final. He's done his job. Everything, the big risk he took earlier this year, moving to Utah in May, that paid off at USA's. Now he's here. He's the only American in the final. Like, go for it, dude.
Yeah, it was great because also it was the very first event because this could have gone another direction. I showed up, literally like the gun goes off. Well, he's a heat too, but right when I get there, I'm like, wow, this thing could be over in 8 minutes. And a lot of athletes, their world is over in 10 seconds. The clock doesn't lie, your position doesn't lie. Like, okay, it's a great story, but a lot of those guys, they come here, they're overwhelmed. The moment gets to him, it doesn't end well. Like Isaac Updates probably had I don't know. Dan had a good last race. He had a good season.
He's had a great season.
He was just in the kicking there, wasn't a factor, didn't get in the top 5. So he's out in heat 1. And then Dan's in there with the big boys, pushes from 1,000 out. And you see that backfire a lot too, John. Sometimes people are like, oh, I'm going to push. And then they just get rolled up the last part. It didn't, he got rolled up the last 150 by the 2 best guys in the world in the event right now. But like, otherwise, he really held his own. He ran with confidence. I thought, oh, this may not work. This might be too much, but it was great. Like, so, because sometimes the people pushing the pace, like, there'll be some Japanese athlete, female athlete pushing it in the 5K, and at the end of the race, they're so far back.
Yeah, no, a lot of cool storylines in the final. You've also got the home nation favorite Ryuji Miura of Japan, who has run 8-0 this year. You've got El Bakali trying to make it 5 for 5, join Ryan Crouser in the club there. And you've got Gurma, who is a bit of a wild card. He's missed a silver medal usually. He's coming back from that tragic Olympic fall last year, and now he's back at the final. Then you got Ruben Quarangine of Luxembourg, Frederick Rupert of Germany. Rupert, it's pretty tight actually. The Diamond League champion. He was 600ths from missing out entirely. I don't think he's not really a kicker, is my sense. Remember, he lost the German championships earlier this year. So even though he's run 8:01, I think a slow race doesn't really help him. Women's 1500 prelims. I don't think there's really too much to discuss here. Weldon, was there any surprises? Laura Muir didn't advance, which, given her season, I mean, obviously she hadn't been running that well earlier this year, but she did just run 3:57 in her last race before Worlds. So I thought, with top 6, I thought she'd be able to get one of those spots, but she just faded pretty badly that last lap and didn't really have it in Heat 4.
The last 100.
Yeah. And I guess the other thing, Nikki Hiltz, I was watching them closely because with Dariba Welteji's suspension, that's obviously one of the huge stories of these championships, is yesterday they announced Dariba Welteji, the Olympic 4th placer, who's run 3:51 this year, who's the world's silver medalist in 2023, won't be running because she she was alleged to have refused to take a test. Sometime, I think it's in May. I don't think they've actually announced the date of the infraction. She was charged in May, and then Ethiopian Anti-Doping Agency overturned it. World Athletics appealed to CAS to put provisional suspension in place so she doesn't compete here. She's not going to be at Worlds, so I'm thinking, okay, you're taking out one of the medal favorites, Nikki Hiltz, who we had as the favorite for 4th, bumps them up. But Nikki was a little further back than usual, and I think they kind of admitted afterwards, they're like, yeah, I was like, oh, okay, I still got to do some work here. I think they're all right. 4:01 is not a super slow time for the first round of a championship, but they turned it on at the very end, lost 30, 40 meters when they needed to. For Wayne Hailu, though, who won this heat, she's the woman, I think, I want to say she was sort of a late addition. I didn't think she'd even be running this event here, but she got in and she looked pretty good. So maybe she's someone that Hiltz is going to have to deal with. But
was she not running Worlds at all until the?
No, I think she had been subbed in actually for one of the other women even before Welteji. I think you gotta double check this. I think Ethiopia only had 2 entrants in this event. So yeah, I mean that's also catching a break. Yeah, Welteji was on the start list, and they can't replace at that point. They can't replace her once the start lists are out. So Ethiopia kind of got a little screwed over there.
Yeah, with Nikki Welteji being out, there was a huge gap between the top 3 PBs. They were all 350. Oh my gosh, all 350 or better.
PBs. Welteji's around 351.
351.
Yeah,
351 or better, and Hiltz is back there at 354,
355 high. So yeah, based on season's best, Nikki's 3+ seconds slower, but I think they're feeling good. And Sinclair Johnson also looked pretty good. Sinclair thought she was in the best in terms of fitness and mindset. She's really confident going into this meet. She ran well in the Diamond League final, so she was feeling pretty. I don't think her ceiling's what Nikki's is, but Sinclair Johnson was feeling pretty good too.
Yeah, but when they were kicking, the field, Nikki likes the they pronouns too. The field starts kicking. Nikki's further. I was expecting a change of gear. It didn't happen right away. Nikki gave the indication that, I thought I had it, and then I realized I need to put in a little change of pace. Moved up, got second. I guess that's the question mark. So I think the third medal on paper, that's where it comes down to, right? Jess Hull's the favorite for the silver. Obviously, Faith Kipyegon for the gold. So,
yeah. Is it Nikki? Is it Melly Chipchia who they beat in Brussels? Is it for Wayne Hailu? I think there was a role.
I mean, Hailu, I think, is the one. She looked really good today. She's run 354 and 819. That's a step above Nikki, or more than a step above, right?
Well, I think Nikki could run 354 right now. It wouldn't shock me.
I wouldn't be shocked at all if Nikki. I expect Nikki to get the American record, but I've expected that or Nikki's last 2 races. So if Hailu's on her best, you've run 819, 354, it's going to be really hard to beat. But it's Nikki's medal odds went up a lot yesterday or whenever yesterday here the ruling came out.
No doubt. All right. Looking at the hundreds, Jefferson Wooden and Alfred both looked good. Alfred looked fantastic, actually. But, that's what happens when you've got a woman who can run 10.6 or should be able to run 10.6, running 10.9. She's going up against no one else broke 11 seconds in that heat. So, yes, she's going to look amazing, but I think she also is in really good fitness. The one I was interested in for this race was Sha'Carri Richardson, because she has not the defending world champion, Sha'Carri Richardson, has not had a good season. She said she had an injury over the winter back in February. She hasn't really given many of the details about what exactly the injury was, only that it set her back and she started a little later than she planned on. But she's been racing since May and didn't break 11 seconds in any of her first 5 races. She didn't, any of her first, 5 races. Didn't break it today either, but I actually was quite encouraged by this race. I don't think she's going to be a factor for gold. because Jefferson Wood and Alfred is such a high level right now. But could she get the bronze? Looking at the way she ran this race, I think it's possible. 11:03, which is the season's best, into a 0.8 headwind. The issue for Sha'Carri, this is going to be an issue in the final as well. Her start was poor, 0.207. She doesn't get the reaction time. It's been a championship issue for her for a while. She did solve it in 2023 in the final. She reacted well to that one, got a good start, and she won the race. But this is something that plagued her at the Olympics. It's plagued her in the rounds at USA's. Sometimes she gets it right to the final. Sometimes she doesn't. But that would be my concern. But she looked good at the end of the race. She had some run in her legs. She beat Shericka Jackson. So I think signs of encouragement, but I'm still concerned about the start.
Yeah, I'm shocked. I heard John was so gung-ho about Sha'Carri. An agent was pretty gung-ho about Sha'Carri. Said, look, essentially, like, her talent is so good. She can be very hit or miss. If there's one athlete in the world who could sort of come running over 11 seconds to medaling in the same season, not running over 11 once, running over 11 consistently, it's Sha'Carri. I think she's got an uphill battle, but we'll find out tomorrow, I guess, is the short answer.
I just think there's a chance. And if she had run like she had in some of these diamond leagues, I would have just said, no, it's not happening. But what she showed me today, I think we know how good her best is, but if she can just solve that start, I think she might be able to contend for a medal. I think gold and silver is spoken for, though.
Wait, all in the game is right. I didn't see all these heats, but yeah, Tina Clayton's been at such another level, John. What was her time today? Like, she's definitely the favorite for bronze.
She was 11:01. I mean,
you can't read too much into these times. Like, they're so far off where they need to be.
Right. Well, a lot of them.
Okay, big picture though, like, you can assess things. Did anything change to you for the gold medal? The gold medal, I think, is between two people, Julian Alfred and Melissa Jefferson Wood.
No, they both won their heats comfortably. I thought Alfred looked a little better, but I'm not really judging.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am now. I'm like, oh wow.
Also,
you're on this stage. It's such. I was reminded of last year. She was such a big stage performer. She raised her game so much. Wouldn't raise her game too, actually, to get the bronze at the Olympics. But
hold on. But Tina Clayton, she ran that one great race at the Jamaican trials. Does the
never
rest
mind.
Of her season scream?
No, wait. I'm thinking of her sister.
The twins. You're getting the twins confused.
Her sister got hurt at the Jamaican Championships.
Right.
Her sister's been running much better Diamond League circuit.
Yes, Tina Clayton
got second in the final.
Right. Tina didn't run the final. Tina was fourth at Prix, second in Gouliai meet in Hungary, and then fourth in Silesia in 10:91. She's been all right, but I don't. You tell me Sha'Carri can't run 10:9. I guess she hasn't done it all season, but I think she could in the final. So
wait, and on my plane, people are asking, John. I didn't see her. Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price. There's two women on my row. Originally from Jamaica, in I think San Diego now. One of them's a huge track fan. The other one became a support her friend. And I was like, who do you want to see? She's like, I came. It's Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price's last meet. And I needed to see her run once, which I think is pretty cool. So
the GOAT of women's sprinting. Yeah. No, I'm not saying like Sha'Carri will medal. I'm saying I thought her chances were very, very poor coming into the meet, and then she showed signs of life today. So that's all I'm saying about this. In the men's race,
we have a new contender.
Yeah, it's the guy who runs like the crazy fast time out of nowhere in the first round. They don't always become a factor or do anything in the final or necessarily even make the final. This semi also, the first round he was in. It's crazy. The three fastest times of the day were all from this one race. And there were a couple heats with headwinds, but this wasn't like some huge tailwind either. It was plus 0.3. So I guess when every other heat was run into like zero wind or a slight headwind, that does help a little bit. But I did not see Leotlila I think that's closer to the actual pronunciation. I didn't see him running 987. But then if you look at the races he's had earlier this season, he's been winning a lot on the circuit. He hasn't been running big meets, but since the South African trials all the way back in April, he won those. But these are some of the places where he's won well. And these are the world famous meets: Jovi, Montgeron, Solentuna, Ulu, and Brussels, the B race in Brussels.
Yeah, but the fastest time here was 9:98 in Montgeron. I don't even know what country these are in.
But a lot of these, you look, that he did have a 1.8 wind in Ulu,
and only ran 10.02. These times,
maybe they might have been like 50 degrees in Finland. Like some of these tracks, I'm doubting these are like the fastest tracks in the world. He's winning every time out. He had some headwinds. He told me afterwards, he's like, "Yeah, I thought I could run pretty well because the training had been going well. Like he trains with Beyonda Walazi, the 19-year-old South African with the very distinctive sprint form. But this was, he's 27 years old, so it's a little surprising to be making this jump into the 9.8s now. But if you look at well, he has an injury history. He tore his hamstring in 2023. He said it was so bad he considered giving up the sport. He said he had tuberculosis last year. He had to be on medication for about 6 months. So things have been going well for him. Anyway, that's his explanation. He's fine. He's healthy. And if you do look at his recent form, he was due for like a strong run if he got pretty good conditions. But 987, that puts him like fringe medal contender. Then the other guy in his heat worth noting is Oblique Seville, who had possibly the worst start I've ever seen from a sprinter in a world championships. He had a 0.286 reaction time. Like, we think Sha'Carri is bad when she has a 0.20. This was 0.08 of a second slower than that. So if you gave him Leo Lila's reaction time of 1.135,
you're in a 978.
That's a 978 for Seville. So he looked good at the end of the like. I was wondering, I'm like, why isn't he running these guys down? Isn't he a lot better than them? It's like, no, actually, the top two guys ran a 987 and 988. Now, that's a problem. You can't start like that in the semis or final and hope to do well. And it's also weird because he's usually the best starter. That's what he's known for, is he has a really good start. So maybe it was just he's taking a safety in the first round. He didn't want to have anything go wrong and take a risk. But if he can get the start straightened out, he's in PR shape right now. So good and bad news if you're a Seville supporter. Because Shane Thompson, 995, he looked incredibly under control. And I thought Lyles looked pretty good as well. 995 into a 1.1 headwind. He was very pumped up and happy and pleased. He thought he'd made some progress in the 100 the last few weeks. So I think he's good reason to be excited about him as well.
The first heat, the times just don't make sense to me. The second place is Kayensola Ajayi. Hope I got that right.
He didn't have a great start either.
He runs for Auburn. He ran 988. This guy was second in the NCAA in the 60, fourth in the 400. Like 988 is fast. Like, and then maybe because also, I guess you got Seville in there. It's tough. These guys are up and coming, so they're on it. I don't know. Like maybe it was the perfect storm. But those are crazy fast times. If we had a 978, a 987, and a 988 in round one, that's crazy. Because as we got to the last heat, I think Tebogo was in the last heat. He wins, looks around, and I think it was 10-1 something.
10:07. Into a 1.2, which isn't bad either.
So, look, yeah, I guess never read too much into the first round. One of my takeaways, okay, because Shane Thompson, I thought physically looked fine. So no obvious signs of injury, which was some concern coming in. Seville's top end is still there. Maybe he got his bad race out, John. Maybe he reversed it this year, Worlds, because that top end speed is amazing. But my gosh, that's where the start was bad. Noah Lyles was very confident, right?
Yeah.
He was cocky. Noah Lyles is back. He just said, that's my best 100 start by far of the year. Before, he said he's sort of tensing up. Essentially, almost saying, I kind of got the sense he felt like he's trying too hard a little bit or trying to force things a bit.
Yeah, that's definitely how he felt. And no, he's in a good spot. So that is going to be the marquee event tomorrow. We've got the men's and women's 100-meter finals tomorrow night. They're doing it on the same night, which not really sure why they chose to do it that way, but how's this for an end to the session? 9:30 Japan time, so that's 8:30 Eastern time in the morning. Men's 10,000-meter final, followed by the women's 100-meter final, then the men's 100-meter final. So that's going to be a great way to end the night. And if you're in the U.S., later today, we've got the first round of the men's 1,500 meters at 8 p.m. Eastern time, and the women's marathon as well, which starts at 6:30 Eastern time. So that'll be finishing right after the men's 1,500 wraps up. And I'm just going to say it. When I was in Tokyo last time, I threw out the name Molly Seidel on the podcast. I said, crazy things happen in hot marathons. Molly Seidel, like, could she medal? Maybe that's Jessica McLean. 4th in the Olympic trials marathon in 2024 in hot and humid Orlando. She trains at Phoenix, where it's a dry heat, but I'm just saying, if someone's going to do anything crazy, it wouldn't totally shock me. Even though the field is really good, you've got Perez Jepchirchir, Tiggs DeSefa, Tigges Katema, Satume Asefa. It's a really good field, but keep an eye on Jessica McLean. I'll just say that. All right, Weldon. Anything else?
I was trying to see if anyone in the comments knows anything. Phoenix is it can be really hot there, but it's not humid like this. They're like completely different things. No takeaways. Big day one. So it's what, noon on the East Coast? So at 9 hours from now? 9 p.m. they get to watch it? What time is it? 1,500, John?
8 p.m. Eastern. But the marathon's at 6:30. So tune into that.
So you guys will be watching more of the marathon than I am, I'll say that much.
Yeah.
So yeah, tune in. 1,500 kicks off. Be really interesting to see how the favorites do, but you have the interesting wrinkle this year of what's Jakob up to.
Yeah.
So
if you like this, everyone, letsrun.com/subscribe. Join the supporters club. We all do these podcasts every day from Tokyo. If you don't have the time to tune in live, you can get them in your podcast feed every day.
And Papa F here is asking, are we going to be there live in the morning?
I'm not going. Look, I might be on 5 or 6 hours sleep. I'm not missing the first round of the 1,500. Yeah. I'll be there.
Same. And I've been up for, what time is it in the East Coast? I've been up since 6 a.m. yesterday. So
okay.
Good night, tomorrow, guys.